Well, hey, everybody. Getting ready to record episode 194 of Mike in the Midwest. It's going to be a quick one because we got basketball to watch. So here we go. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 194 of Mike in the Midwest, our mini podcast for the amazing patrons just like you of the Be Our Guest podcast. Of course, my name is Mike Rallman, host of the Be Our Guest podcast. You can find me at Be Our Guest Mike on Twitter, formerly known as, well, I guess it's X, actually, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. Hit me up and let's talk. Also, you can always find me on our Discord channel. Come on over. We talk 24/7. It's called the BOGP Clubhouse. It's where we hang out all the time. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But all you got to do is go to beourguestpodcast.com/Discord and you are there. But I hope you're doing well. We're here on a Sunday afternoon because this promises to be a busy week. So I just want to get ahead and get the show out there so you have it in time for your Monday morning commute, along with a great trip report that you're going to have. You're going to have a great one this week. I'm excited for this one. We're going to take you on a cruise on the Disney Wonder to Alaska. It's going to be a great one. So get ready for that. Get your, well, not really tropical drinks, but get ready to head to sea with a fun trip report on Monday. So that's coming your way here in just a few hours. I'm super excited for that one because it was a fun trip report to record. So today, let's talk Mike in the Midwest. How is your weekend going? Hopefully it's going well. It's pretty good around here. It's busy. Mallory has been working the entire weekend. I think I've mentioned here on the show what's happening around the podcast studios. Mallory has a part-time job now because she has her car, she has her license. All of a sudden, she's just never home. And now that we have 3 cars, she's totally independent because she drives herself to school, she drives herself to practice. She drives herself to her job, which is in the next town over. She works at a women's boutique selling women's clothing. And apparently at this, I've never been in the store, obviously, because it's a women's clothing store. Don't really have a lot to shop for there. I keep telling her I'm going to come in, but that would be weird. But she comes home every few days and says that she was the seller of the day. I guess they keep track of the number of sales each associate rings up. It's not a very big place. It's kind of a boutique, but she has had the top sales a few days, which is pretty cool because she's only 16 and she has zero training in sales. I mean, she's a 16-year-old cheerleader high school kid. So I don't know what kind of training they have given her because she's only had the job for about a month, maybe 2 months, but she has a knack for this kind of thing. I don't know. As a dad, you wonder about these things. Is that going to be her thing? Like, is she going to have a knack for salesmanship? I don't know. I don't know what her thing is going to be in life, but whatever it is, I'm proud of her, and I'm glad for her. So we'll see. But it's one of those things, like all of a sudden she was home all the time. And then she turned 16, immediately got her license 2 days later, got a car, everything changed. Like, and all of a sudden she's, independent. We always take her we used to take her to her private tumbling lessons. She drives to those on her own now after school. Like, she is just, she's always, taking her friends here and there in her car. It's wild. But I mean, I look back and that's exactly how it was for me when I turned 16. I got my license on my 16th birthday. I got my first car when I was 12. That didn't run when I was 12. My grandpa and I bought an MGB convertible that was $500 when I was 12, and it sat in his garage. And it was just basically a shell of a car. And we fixed it up over the years. I was 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, worked on it. And by the time I was 16, it ran. It wasn't super nice, but it ran. And so I had a vehicle when I was 16 and I could get around it. And it was pretty sweet to have a little coupe, a little 71 MG. I mean, it was super, picture a Mazda Miata, if you know what those are, but smaller. And so that's what I had in high school. And it was fun. Was it safe? I would never give my kid an MGB convertible when they were 16. I don't know what my parents were. They wouldn't let me have a Jeep. I wanted a Jeep Wrangler like I have now. I've driven a Jeep Wrangler for the past 25 years. My dad would not let me have one of those. He said, "You will kill yourself in a Jeep Wrangler." Yeah, I'm cruising around in an MGB convertible that my butt sat 3 inches off the ground on that thing. It sat so low. when I drive down the interstate, I literally could have gone under a tractor trailer, changing lanes. And that is not an exaggeration. That is how low that thing sat. So anyway, it was the same thing for me though. I turned 16, and maybe it's a Midwest thing. I know it's kind of a where you live kind of thing, because I listen to these other podcasts, and some of these other podcasters are like, I don't drive, and they're in their 40s. And I just can't imagine, right? I mean, because where we live in Missouri, you have to drive everywhere. There is no public transportation where I live. There's none. So you have to get in your vehicle to go to Target, to go to Taco Bell, to go, to go see Paige in Chicago. You drive. And that's just a way of life, and for Mallory, she drives to school, she drives to practice, she got to drive to her tumbling lesson, she drives to work. So it's, having a vehicle is a necessity. So you kind of figure those things out. So that's how it was for me. And all of a sudden, boom, it's like that for her. And, the house was all three of us. And now Pam and I are all of a sudden looking at each other like we're here, just us. And it's kind of maybe like a precursor to, when possibly she goes away to school in a couple of years. And it's a wake up call. We're not excited for that. We don't want to be empty nesters. We like going to basketball games. We like going to football games. We love seeing her cheer. Now, I do have good news so this week coming up, I like telling you what's going on here around our life, just to get a little back behind the scenes of what's going on with our life. This week is cheerleading tryouts for next year. This week coming up, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They find out next Sunday. So high drama in the Rallman household. This is going to be a stressful week. So we hope that, Mallory makes it. She was on varsity last year, but you never make it on last year. You don't make next year's team on what you did last year, right? You always got to reprove yourself. So she's going to be working hard. She's been doing private tumbling lessons again and all that, big on giving your best, and you don't make the team off of last year. So she'll be working out again this week and giving her best effort. Hopefully she makes the team. If they do though, if she does, because Pam is the vice president of the Booster Club for next year, they are going to Disney World for the cheerleading nationals next year. So I am super pumped for that. So hopefully Mallory makes a squad, because in February we'll be headed to Walt Disney World. So I'm super excited for that. So that'll be fun. So we have not done that before as a cheerleading program at her high school. So little amping up the stakes there. So I'm excited for that. So that's kind of an exciting thing happening right here. Tomorrow on Monday, of course, is the solar eclipse, the total solar eclipse. It does come through Missouri. It is not going to be totality here at the BOGP Studios. We're getting 99% where I live. If I drive about 90 minutes south, we'd get 100%. It's going to be cloudy. So I don't know if I'm going to do it yet or not, because here's the deal. Mallory has her cheerleading end of the season banquet at like 5:00. And I have to go. Obviously I have to go to that. I'm a cheer dad. So I got to make sure that I'm there. And the problem is, if I go south, the problem is coming back north is on the interstate that gets all the traffic. I mean, all the traffic. And if I miss that banquet, I will be a dead man walking. So, I'm a space nut, and I took Mallory to Mizzou to meet with Paige, and we sat at the columns at the University of Missouri to watch the totality in 2017. And it was amazing. And I want to do this. I'm going to see what the weather looks like in the morning, but I might not, just because I cannot be late for this banquet. It's a big deal to her, and it's a big deal to me. And my kid is always going to be above anything else. And so, oh man, it's such a tough call, but it is supposed to be a little cloudy. So that who knows, we'll see. But yeah, at least I'll get 99% if I look at it off of my deck, because our deck is on one of the highest points in our town. And so it'd be a good view from here. 99% ain't bad. Anyway, so that's what's happening around here. Last week, we talked about my very brief basketball career, which we're going to talk basketball in just 1 second. So let's get to the feedback from last week's show. And Steve says over at patreon.com/BRGS podcast says, first off, love the thoughts about just enjoying playing sport. I've coached girls middle school soccer for 10 seasons. I took a very long break when my kids were born and just got back into it last fall. My lacrosse coach in high school, 1990 and 1991, was a cross between Bobby Knight and Nick Saban. Now, that's a good hybrid right there. I'm not as intense or a yeller like he was, but I always knew he loved us. He taught me how to be 100% committed to something and valued that more than skill. What I use as a coach and teacher that he taught me was the value of the one-on-one side talk, where he would praise you and build you up with individual attention. Like you, I also listened to AM talk radio, but in Philadelphia, also staying up way too late. For me, it was a guy named Richard Hayes I listened to. We now go to sleep at night listening to Be Our Guest. Oh my gosh. It's gone full circle. I'm Jim White. I'm the big bumper in the dimly lit studios at KWOK. No, seriously, Steve, I can't wait to tell my dad this. I got to call my dad after this because you just totally blew me away with that last line. By the way, if you listen to the radio in Philadelphia this coming week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, if you listen to the Philadelphia Phillies, you won't hear my dad. But my dad is doing the radio feed for the Philadelphia Phillies this week, the baseball team. He's the engineer from Busch Stadium because they're coming to Busch this week, and they don't travel their radio engineer. So my dad he's pushing all the buttons in the booth for the Phillies team. So like John Kruk, and he's excited because he gets to meet John Kruk this week. And so, my dad will be the radio engineer for the Philadelphia Phillies radio network. So there you go. Thanks, Steve. That was awesome. I appreciate you. Trisha says, listening from Costa Rica, and man, is it hot. Us Wisconsinites aren't used to 80s and 90s with humidity, but we're having a great time hiking, checking out the hot springs around the local volcano, and learning all about the local fauna in the area. This is why you got to be on the Discord. She is sending pictures that are incredible. I mean, unbelievable. These beautiful pictures of where they're staying and some of the animals too, the flora and the fauna. Unreal. I mean, it's worth the price of admission because the price of admission to our Discord server is free. Because there's a board that's called My Corner of the World. That's where they all are. It's unreal. Trisha's been killing it over there. Anyway, back to Trisha. Our basketball team was terrible. Once I scored a 3-pointer, and that was the only basket we made the whole time. Soccer and volleyball were my sports and dabbled in softball. But my parents felt I would be good because I was tall. Let me tell you, height does not give you superpowers on the court. My basketball career lasted 1 season, and I was okay with that. Good for you, Trisha. You're right. I mean, but I did watch the games yesterday, the men's games, and height does matter in men's basketball because Purdue and Connecticut killed because they both had a dude that was like 28 feet tall. Just saying, those two guys were unbelievable. But no, it doesn't always matter. You're exactly right. And you're killing. Yeah, I hope you had a good time playing your sport. But I mean, it's not for everybody. It totally isn't. All right. What I want to talk about today. And it's not going to be a long show. The shows over the past couple of weeks have been long, because this show is supposed to always be like 15 minutes. That was always my goal. It's a mini podcast. I say mini. And then these shows have been as long as the other podcasts. Here we go. 2 things that have brought me a ton of joy over the past week. One is the ratings that the women's basketball is getting. And so here's the deal. You guys know, and if you watch my posts a lot of times, I'll hashtag them girl dad. And I think Kobe Bryant kind of started that back in the day. I am a proud girl dad. I do not have any sons. And, I go to the football games up at the high school. I'm into the Friday night lights because I am there because I'm a cheer dad, right? I'm a dad of a cheerleader. But I sit around all these football dads, right? Because their kids are the offensive linemen, their kids are the running backs, or the quarterbacks, or they're the linebackers, or the cornerbacks. They're on the football team, and I realize I'm never going to have a kid that's on the football team, and I'm a huge football fan, and I'm so fine with that. I'm so fine with that because I do remember. At one point, Pam, my wife, obviously asking me, you always have to clarify because of the podcast, is when we found out we were pregnant with Mallory, she asked me, she's like, do you want a boy or a girl? And I said, I don't really, I told her, I honestly do not care as long as the baby is healthy. I 100%, 1,000% meant that. And so, you go to the doctor and they say, okay, the baby's fine. The baby's healthy. And then you find out the gender of the baby. And we found out she was a girl, and she's like, are you disappointed? Because I think we decided we weren't going to, no, we hadn't decided we weren't going to have another one after this yet. We decided that the night Mallory was born. I was like, we are not doing that again because that stressed me out. That's another story for another day. But when we found out Mallory was going to be a girl, she asked me, "Are you disappointed that you're not going to have a son?" And I was like, "No way." I was like, "No." I was like, "I'm going to have a daughter. Like, how cool is that? I'm going to have another daughter because I already had Paige. Now, Paige is my stepdaughter, but I got to have her from the time like she accepted me. I accepted her from the time she was like 3. She's always been in my life for as long as I can remember. And that's like the coolest relationship ever because she just like let me in and latched onto me and I latched onto her, and we've been peas in a pod ever since she was, little bitty. And like, I love, we couldn't be closer. And so I have 2 daughters. And um, so being a girl dad, seeing what's happening this week with all these women's teams, and I'm not just talking about Caitlin Clark, I'm not just talking about Iowa, but I'm talking about Paige Beckers, what happened with Connecticut and how well she handled the situation with all these people coming in about that call that happened last night, how she handled that situation. But I mean, the attention that is getting drawn to women's basketball hopefully will carry over into other women's sports, because is somebody like Steve here just a minute ago that gave the feedback, who coaches women's sports. There's so many coaches out there that coach CYC sports, that coach high school girls sports, that coach little league girls sports, that coach all these, church leagues and coach rec leagues, and are out there giving their all to these girls. And these girls are giving they play just as hard as the guys. And how cool is it that right now, because as I'm recording, the pregame for the tip is getting ready. The national championship game for South Carolina and Iowa is tipping in 5 minutes. I got it on here in the studio. How cool is it that there's probably going to be about 20, I'm guessing, because there were 14 million watching the other night. I'm guessing there'll probably be at least 15 to 20 million people watching this game. And how many countless little girls are going to say this matters? Like, it's not just going to be some token audience. It's going to be people are stopping what they're doing today to watch young ladies play their sport. And that's cool. So after this game, boys and girls will go out to the hoop and play. And the girls can dream that a country can stop and watch them, just like, when I was 12 and, or when I was 8, and this is going to totally age me. I put on my Neil Lomax jersey and my St. Louis Cardinals back when they were a football team in St. Louis before they moved to Phoenix and Arizona. I'd pretend like I was going to be the quarterback of the St. Louis Cardinals. They can dream because they're going to see like, wow, man, this is like the NBA, and these girls can dream. And it's not just basketball either. They can go into professional careers that maybe they couldn't have dreamed they can do. Even like my older daughter, Paige, right now, she is running a basketball program that is in the Missouri Valley Conference. And that's not the Big 12 or the SEC or, the ACC or the Big 10 or anything like that. But it's a mid-major conference, and it's a big deal. And I'm proud of her because she's a young woman who's got so much responsibility, who's taken this team and they've taken it to new heights in just a short amount of time. They set attendance records for their program this past year. They've never had more people in the stands. And it's because they're creative and they have a good basketball team. They've won more games than this program has ever in the last 2 years. They're doing things right. And there's just momentum all around the women's athletics and women's sports. And got to see what we're seeing with this. And I know it takes superior athletes and special programs, but I hope young women are excited, because I see like Trisha's daughter, Lorelai, who's an athlete. That's awesome. We have a listener, Jennifer, who lives kind of near me here in St. Charles County, and she's got a daughter. And I know that, she's a huge sports fan, and she watches, Iowa basketball. And Mallory, a few years ago, one of her biggest birthday presents was she got a signed t-shirt from the Mizzou women's basketball team. And that was such a huge deal. I'll post the picture because we celebrated her birthday at Pop Century. We were on a Disney vacation at Christmas. And that was like her big birthday present. But, it's cool to see these women taking center stage right now as the tip's getting ready to happen. So congratulations that we're finally getting there. And this makes me super happy. Okay, real quick, because I got to watch this game. But the other thing that is giving me extreme joy, and this is you guys. This Discord channel is bringing me so much joy because it's taken me back to when our podcast was really finding itself and really hitting its stride back when we had the V bulletin message boards. And if you don't know, I'm talking about the V bulletin message boards. We used to have message boards kind of like the Diz boards back in the day, probably like in 2010, 2011, 2012. This was kind of pre-Twitter and Facebook taking off. This is where everybody hung out all the time and talked. And what it gave us over on those message boards was a real sense of community. People dropped in the morning, in the evenings, and posted pictures. And we really got to know each other because we had a message board about cruise line. We had a message board about the theme parks. We had a message board about DVC questions. We had a message board about dining questions. And then we had a couple of message boards where we just talked about our lives. It wasn't even about Disney. It was just where people could get together and talk parenting. We could talk about, current events. We could talk about all kinds of stuff. Holy cow, that was a deep 3 by Iowa already. We could just get together. And here's the thing. We are spread out in our podcast listening audience all around the world. Like when I see Julie from Scotland posted on there, and I'm here in Missouri and we have people in Illinois, which isn't very far away, but we've got people in California and Florida and Texas and Canada and spread out here, there, and everywhere. And we're having these conversations. But what's great about what I'm going to keep calling the BOGP Clubhouse, because it's our little kind of hangout, and it's open to anybody who wants to come in, because unless you're a jerk, you're going to be invited in. This is our club. And it's not to keep people out. It's our clubhouse, and we're going to all rally together to keep it awesome. But it's a place where in the morning you can jump in and see, hey, what's going on? We could talk about this because we care about each other. Because here's the thing. The show is only out there, and we do a show that's out there pretty often, right? Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Sunday we go live, and Thursday you get a replay. So we have more podcasts out there frequently than anybody else. So you get more contact with us as a podcast than any other show. But with the Discord, with the Clubhouse, what I'm liking is that it never ends. It's something that is 24/7. So if you have a question, you don't have to wait to answer listener questions. You can post this question. If you have a dining question, post it in the dining forum. If you have a question about DVC, post it in the DVC. Here's the other couple things. We have a D23 little area. When D23 happens, we can all hang out in there and talk in real time and have our, reactions and conversations in there in real time and give thoughts and post pictures and videos. It could be wild. Also on Tuesday for sign up for Marathon Weekend, we can all kind of give our updates in real time in the Run Disney Corrals in that area. So we can kind of, oh my gosh, I have to wait 2 hours in the queue. But we can say, oh, I got in, or I didn't, or what's the status? I mean, we can kind of commiserate together. But what it's making me super happy because of this one word that I want the podcast to always be about, and it's community. I have gotten to see so many pictures of your families and of you guys and of just basically great memories. This show is about spreading happiness, and it's about spreading memories and joy. And this Discord, this Be Our Guest clubhouse that we're able to use here is such a powerful tool. And the thing is, I feel terrible because it sat there underutilized for like 4 years. I set it up during COVID and I really didn't understand how to use it. And I'll be honest, I still really don't understand how Discord works. I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm watching YouTube videos and stuff behind the scenes when I get a chance, but it's working in its basic sense, and that we can all communicate together in real time. People are dropping in. And I'll tell you what, one of the reasons I kind of gave it a second chance is because Trisha hung with this. Trisha hung with this like forever with that trivia. And she kept doing it. And there were like a few people that were always in there. There were only a few though, and they just stuck in there for years. And I was like, I feel so guilty that they're sticking in there and I'm not giving this my best effort. I want to give it one more shot. And everybody came over, and this time it's working. So please help me spread the word about this, and let's keep this going, because what I love is the community aspect. We're getting to know each other in a way that we haven't before. And that's what is making this podcast so much more fun for me again. I mean, not that the podcast is ever not fun, but man, it's so much fun just being able to talk that it's BOGO blizzards on a Saturday night. We're gonna all go get blizzards, or we're talking about, the sports in the sports center for them. We're having a good time talking Disney, but talking life and just have, and it's all about friendships. And I just feel like I have made so many friends over the past month in the Discord, and I wanted to continue that way. So just want to throw that in there. Two things that are making me happy. So how about this for next week's show? Any small things like this that are just kind of making you happy over the past week? Let me know. Oh my God, there's like a half court shot for 3. This game is gonna be wild. So I got I got to get out of here and go upstairs because my wife wants to watch this one with me. But man, I'm so happy for the women. I hope all the men and the women are watching the game today, because everybody who's an athlete, doesn't matter your gender, you should be celebrated. And today is going to be a celebration of sports, not women's sports, not men's sports, athletes. And let's get to it. All right, I'll talk to you guys tonight. We have the call-in show. Give me a holler. We'll be doing that at 7:00 Eastern, 6:00 Central. I might recover by then. You guys stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon.